Wow, what a day so far. Okay, so now it's time for another Founders Chat, and this is going to be a great discussion. I'd like to turn to three young, incredible co-founders. And there you are. Wave at us. Joe, where's Joe? Which one's Joe? Yep, there's Joe. Who's Giancarlo? Giancarlo, there you are.
Yep.
And Aedan, is it Aedan? Am I saying it right?
Yep,
Hi.
that's perfect.
How are you? So together they created Blade, a company, and I first thought about ice skates, but I think I might have been wrong there. They created Blade, a company that began when they were actually in university. What university?
So Giancarlo and I are both Schulich alumni, and Joe has his master's in chemical engineering from Ryerson.
Wonderful. Wow. So Joe, wave Joe. There he is. Joe noticed a problem with the inefficiency of carbon filters. Who knew? This is something I had no idea there was an issue with carbon filters. He then used his engineering background to create a solution that led to a global patent. Wow. And a company that took these co-founders from, this is incredible, from 0 to 56 million in 4 years. I think you should be buying coffee for every one of us right now. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. So let's start. So what an absolute incredible journey. So let's just start. How did it start? How did you find each other? And walk us through the formation of Blade. And you can duke it out who's going to speak.
Yeah. I think I'll start with this one. So it's definitely been quite a journey. 4 years ago. So we started Blade in 2017. Aedan and I were just finishing our second year, going into our third year of university. Joe's 2 years older than us. So Joe came up with the idea of Blade filters. So what we did was we created the world's first zero waste carbon filter. Now, I'm sure most people don't really know what a carbon filter is or what it necessarily does. So essentially what it is, it helps remove odors. In 2017, the cannabis industry was getting legalized. So that's really the market that we started with, because carbon filters were used in that industry. It was really the low-bearing fruit at the time. And obviously in that industry, odor control is heavily regulated and something very important. So that's kind of where we went right away. And Joe came up with the idea actually just by trying to he was developing a way to grow tropical plants at the time. And essentially, he saw the inefficiency with carbon filters, noticing that you had to replace the entire unit every time that the carbon became exhausted. So it was a very expensive process, very wasteful, and wanted to develop a solution for that. So being the engineer that he is, that's exactly what he did. And very quickly, we started Blade Filters, where we disrupted that market through our replaceable carbon filter. And really the benefits that offers is, one, we have time savings for our clients. Two, we have cost savings from having that replaceable part of it. And then the best part about it is that we're taking a 100% wasteful process down to zero waste through that carbon filter.
Nice.
Yeah, so everything was great. A super fun industry to be in. And we were making a lot of great connections. Obviously, being young in the industry, definitely had its pros and cons during the time. Now, fast forward to end of 2019, beginning of 2020, had a lot of great connections, had a lot of great projects that we were looking forward to in 2020. And we were actually on a flight back from Vancouver where we were meeting some of our clients and some of the projects for the year. And as soon as we came back, COVID hit, and everything that we had projected for that year just seemed like it disappeared right in front of us, and so many issues now right in front of us that we had to tackle. So, I mean, being in the air filtration industry already, we wanted to do something to help with COVID. We wanted to do something to help our clients go back in business. We wanted to do something to help people go back to work. And after doing a ton of research, determined that HEPA filtration was a key element to helping with these kind of viruses. So our team got together, developed our HEPA air purifier. So that was now a new line that we had within our portfolio. And that's actually where Blade Air started. So we had Blade Filters, which was our carbon filters, and then we had Blade Air, which was our HEPA air purifiers.
Oh.
Now, during that time, we wanted to help as many people as we could. And we started to see a lot of success with schools, private schools in particular.
Right. Yeah.
And from the private schools, we made the transition to helping with the public school boards and getting these units out as much as we can. So we developed this whole new line. The focus was Canadian made, Canadian built, high quality units for commercial applications. And we just started growing year over year, started making a lot of new connections, becoming a reputable name in the industry. Now started adding new indoor air quality lines as well to our portfolio, such as UVC. So we have a true indoor air quality organization now. Eventually turned out to be one of the top suppliers for air purifiers for the Ontario government.
Nice.
Started spanning across Canada as well, different solutions for different kinds of clients. We work with a ton of schools, obviously, a ton of property management companies. And now, fast forward to 2022, Blade Filters and Blade Air combined together to be what is now known as Blade. So it's no longer a HEPA, it's no longer just a carbon filter company, it's a total indoor air quality solution organization.
Incredible. What a story. And the pandemic led you to here in a way, didn't it? You know, you saw the opportunities and you jumped right on it. That's wonderful. So here's the question people want to know. With the banks not wanting to fund you in the early stages, how did you get to 56 million in just 4 years? Like, that's quite a story.
It definitely was not an easy ride by any means. There was a couple of contracts built into that 56 that were significant in the 8-figure range, and those contracts required a lot of upfront capital on our side. And so going through rapid growth, we had pretty tight cash flow. It was a constant process of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, like you're waiting on your AP and waiting on your AR, and it's just that fine balance of like cycling through all your funds. And then when you get those key life-changing projects, and it's coming from a government organization, so the funds are pretty much guaranteed, and you have the banks telling you that they won't deal with you. We had one bank that refused to actually put us into a commercial account, which almost dropped our financing deal from a third-party lender that we were dealing with. It was that ridiculous that we couldn't go from a small business bank account to a commercial bank account, that we had to change banks in order to keep our deal alive. Just the smallest things that you can think of are these deal breakers. And so we were very, very fortunate to be put in touch with a couple of different people who put us in touch with some third-party lenders who, when they evaluated the deal, they came in at a very, very favorable rate in comparison to some of the other deals that were on the table for us. Whereas a bank would have come in at about maybe 4 or 5% on a line of credit that we were looking for. We ended up paying 10%. But even at 10%, it was a lot better than the 28% that was being offered from the other side of the table. And so even while we were borrowing money and trying to grow, it was still constantly like holding firm to that budget, because obviously you want to try and recapture as much of the profit as you can from those types of deals, so that way for future projects, you can afford to finance internally. And so that's what it was. It was bootstrapping from the very start. We did a small raise, brought in about 350,000. Did a second raise about a year later in order to finance our first big $1 million contract, and that was a combination of debt and equity in that round. And then we got these larger contracts coming in, and we found a partner who was willing to work with us. And we were incredibly fortunate to have made the connections that we already had to find this third-party lender, because even with a 75% guarantee from EDC, none of the major banks would touch us still. A 75% guarantee, and they weren't willing to take the risk. And it was a $5 to $6 million line is what we were looking for. You know, we're
I bet they
20
take the risk now.
Yeah. Well, now.
Yeah, the consensus was come back to us after you guys finish this contract, and we'll have no problem.
Yeah, it was incredibly frustrating. I will say right now with National, who we're with, I am incredibly happy. Our account manager is incredibly responsive, incredibly kind, and he is working his tail off to try and get us as much credit as he can. Even with the credit cards, like you know, like we were using our personal credit cards for a lot because they would give us a cap of $5,000 on our credit card, and it's like, we're in manufacturing. Things get expensive. So yeah, it was bootstrapping and cash flow management that really allowed us to get there, and then finding the right people and the right partners to support us when the banks wouldn't.
Yeah, great story. Wow, what a Canadian success story. So we've got 2 minutes left, and my question is, what advice do you have for other founders sitting there in the same spot you were a couple of years ago?
You know what? It kind of goes back. I'll pull a little bit from the previous section. You know, be smart with your money. Do not let it go to your head when you start to get anything in the account. Your runway, like take the pandemic, for instance, you know, we built out a runway and we were, you know, right on schedule, but then suddenly a pandemic hits and suddenly everything you've projected now went up in smoke. Well, guess what? You better have money left in the account to still be able to think on your feet. Also, when those big contracts come around, it is extremely expensive if you have any kind of hardware to finance that. Even if you don't, you need to bring on new staff. You always need more money than what you are going to need. You know, don't starve yourselves, but at the same time, like, be conservative. The other thing is, don't give up. You know, they say there's more than one way to skin a cat. There truly is. If you don't give up and you persevere, every setback was just a step you needed to take. If you give up, you've failed. And that's the sad story of it. So, you know, we hit some really, well, now there's minor road bumps, but at the time they seemed like walls. And we overcame them because we just wouldn't stop. And that's how we made it to 56 million from you know, nothing within a few years. And it's just, again, perseverance, smart choices, and also be kind to your other founders. Like, be kind to your team. There is going to be high stress situations, and you guys have got to have each other's backs. And thank God, you know, we have a really strong connection with each other and a really strong team, and that was what helped us to really persevere through all of it.
You know, what wonderful advice and a wonderful way to end up this discussion on your company. I'm just so excited to watch where you're heading next. I'm sure you've got lots more plans. And I've never learned more about carbon filters in all my life than the past 15 minutes. And who knew? But HEPA filters and all the things that you've done. Honestly, I'm just so proud of you. This is fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us and giving people who are listening a lot of hope, and you gave them good advice. But the best thing you said is be kind to the ones around you, because you just don't know when you're going to need them. And that is so true. So thank you, Joe, Giancarlo, and Aedan. And we're going to be watching for the next thing you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.